Before my wife and I got married, we each lived in separate basement suites. I had a tiny place all by myself and she lived with her sister. And then we got married and we got this 2-bedroom basement suite and we were bringing together both of our stuff. And so we got this 2-bedroom basement suite and we had this second bedroom and we moved in and we affectionately called that room the jungle. Because what we did is we moved in and we kind of set up the basement suite, but then everything that we didn't really unpack or really know what to do with ended up in the jungle. There was boxes of books in there and there was all kinds of other things, maybe things that we had duplicate of or keepsakes or whatever it was. It just ended up in the jungle. And we kind of would like close the door and it became this room that we couldn't really use it. Didn't really want to see it, didn't want to deal with it. And there was a very real, now that I look back on it, a very real cost to having the jungle. There was a financial carrying cost to having a jungle. It was a room that we couldn't really use. We couldn't go in there and work in there or work out in there or do anything. There was boxes everywhere, right? So we were sort of paying rent for this room that we couldn't use. It was just sort of holding our stuff. And there's also, of course, the mental sort of carrying cost of having this room. We kind of knew it was always there. It's always in the back of your mind going, wow, we should probably do something about that. We really need to kind of work on that. Now, of course, that's not really a massive deal. I mean, I think you might have like a room or a closet or different things in your house where you're like, I collect stuff in there. I don't really know what to do with. It's constant, right? There's stuff in our lives. And all was fine and dandy for my wife and I until, of course, we found out we were expecting our first child. Well, now the jungle can't be the jungle anymore because you can't let a baby live in the jungle. You have to clean that up and turn it into a nursery. So we did that. We sort of started purging, and definitely more last minute than, early, of course. So that's how we operate. And I vividly remember actually working and cleaning up that room the night before my wife went into labor. And of course, we did the logical thing, which everyone, would agree with. We purged quite a bit of stuff. I think we did quite well. But then for the things that we couldn't purge, we went out and we rented a storage locker. I mean, why not, right? It was, things that we felt that were important, that we needed to keep in our lives. So now we were taking on an additional financial cost for more space outside of our home, for a space that, held on to things that we believed were important. And I still have a lot of those things today. And it's interesting to me, but there is a very real cost to what it is that we hold on to as we go through life. And I want to dive into that a little bit today, look at it from a couple of perspectives. So as I'm learning more and more each day of this sort of very real cost of the things that are a part of our life, I think one of the things that struck me the most is that we live in a culture that says, I need more. Like that's what it means to be successful and to be happy. It means that I have accumulated more, whether that be more finances, whether that be more stuff, more relationships, whatever it is, more. But the reality is that the more that we add to our life, what gets robbed is our capacity. We lose our capacity. It could be financial capacity and your ability to sow into the kingdom that God's calling you towards. Definitely in your mental capacity, because now you're thinking about things that maybe aren't as focused in the direction that God wants you to be called on. It could be relational capacity. You're not able to spend as much time with your family or your kids because of what we've gone after, because what society and culture has told us, well, this is the direction of success. This is the direction of happiness. You need to have more. You need a bigger house. You need more cars. You need more travel. You need more stuff. And how interesting is it that when you look at it and the cost of all the different things that we carry, what we actually need is a disciplined pursuit of less. That great book, Essentialism, that's the subtitle, The Disciplined Pursuit of Less. I love that subtitle. And so today I want to dive in and look at sort of two perspectives, just two different ideas in the areas of life, both the physical things that we sort of collect and carry, but also the mental things that we collect and carry. So the first touch point here is the physical things, the things that we have, the things that we accumulate. We've moved a handful of times since we got married, and there's boxes that I moved out of my single guy basement suite, then I moved into our first married basement suite, and then that same box I also moved into the second house that we lived in, the third house that we live in. And I'm looking at this box going, what is in this box? And why do I have to keep picking it up every couple of years as we've moved? What's in there that I decided I needed so badly? And often it's books, because I really like books. But, I look at this and there's this physical cost of me having these things that I've had to carry through life and carry through my life. And I heard a really interesting question, and it was, it doesn't work every time, but I look at this and I say, pick something up and ask yourself, would you pay money for this again right now if you came across it in a store and you didn't own it? So, you pick up the thing that you're trying to decide, do I keep this? Do I not keep this? Should I get rid of it, sell it, thrift it, Goodwill, whatever it is? Would I pay money for this if I came across it in a store right now if I didn't already have it in my possession? And so many of the times I look at it and I go, no, I would never pay for that. I don't need that. And I find that my mind plays tricks on me. It's like, well, no, you might need this again in the future. Like, you might need this again in 6 months or 2 years or whatever like that. And there isn't really a cost, right? You just put it on the shelf and we'll pick it up the next time we move. But there is a real cost, right? You're dusting, you got to maintain things. Whatever it is, there's a very real cost, and it takes up mental space as well, which leads me to my second point. My second point is that this sort of mental carrying cost. And I ask myself this question, what do I allow in my mind to take up space but that doesn't pay rent? What's actually in my mind that's taking up mental space, whether I'm frustrated or whatever that is, but it's actually not serving me in any positive way, like doesn't pay rent. It's not creating any value. And we talked about this before, but what do you allow to frustrate you? What small things are you allowing to sort of throw off your day? And they're taking up mental space in your day as you go through life. And that robs your capacity. It robs your ability to be focused and thoughtful on the things that God wants to be focused on, or spend that time, intentional time with family, or be focused in and intentional in your work and serving and leading people. James Clear is the author of Atomic Habits, and I heard him say this on a podcast, and it might be in his book. I apologize if it is, but I heard him say this on a podcast. He said, "No is a decision. Yes is a responsibility." You know what? I'm a person of my word. So if I say yes to something, if I say, yes, I'm going to commit to volunteer in this space, yes, I'm going to attend this event, or yes, I'm going to be a part of this or part of that, or commit to keep this item or commit to this relationship. If I say yes to these things, I have a responsibility to see that through. That's who you are. You're a person that's a follow-through person. You take responsibility, and you take the responsibility for your yes, that you're going to see that through. And that's good. That's a good thing. We need to do that when they line up with our values. But when you say no, you've made a decision, you're able to move on. And when you say no to the things that you shouldn't be spending time on, then you create capacity for the things that you should be spending time in. You create capacity for where you should be sowing your thoughts and your time and your energy and your effort and your skills and your gifts and talents and abilities. And when you say no to the things that don't line up with that, you create capacity to help make that happen. I'm not saying you need to start saying no to everything. Just filter those decisions through your values. Look at the decisions of how you're spending your time, how you're spending your finances, where you're sowing your thoughts in. And when you're saying yes to too many things, that means that you're saying no to the things that God might be calling you towards. But when you say no, you're actually able to create capacity and sow into the direction that God's calling you towards. I believe you have a good idea of how you should be spending your time, how you should be sowing your time, your finances, your effort, your skills and talents and abilities. I believe God's given you a path and a purpose. I want you to have capacity to sow into those things. But if we pursue more and more and more and more and more, and it's constantly being robbed and it's constantly being pulled away because we keep saying yes, we'll have no capacity to sow into what God's calling us to. So today, I just want to encourage you to recognize that there is a carrying cost to the physical things that we have in our life and the mental things that we apply our thoughts to. There is a carrying cost to it. And that cost is the loss of our capacity. It could be your financial capacity because you're paying for more space than you need, or whatever it is, you're paying to maintain things you don't need or use. There's mental cost because now you're sowing your thoughts into something that isn't necessarily the direction that God wants you to go into. Be intentional about what you say yes to. Think about the cost of what it is that we get to carry in and through life. It's not that everything that we have in our life is bad or anything like that. That's not it. It's just, what is it taking away from you, and do you need to have that as a part of your life? I just want to encourage you, look at these things today. Look at the carrying cost. Recognize the impact that these areas of your life, these things that we carry, everything that we carry has a cost. I hope you have an absolutely blessed rest of your day, and I look forward to connecting with you again next week.